Good morning, everybody, and hello from Brussels, where I am today. I'm Anna Thanasopoulou, and I will be moderating the workshop that the European Commission and the part of the European Commission responsible for industrial policy and entrepreneurship is organizing today as part of the 5th Global Social Economy Forum. We're very happy to be part of the forum and very happy to be organizing this workshop, which will be looking at more closely at the role of social economy for the economic development of territories and the industrial development in Europe. Before turning to our panelists, and we have 5 speakers with us today who will share their experiences in this area, I would like to briefly give a short update on where we are in Europe regarding industrial development, industry policy post-COVID, where the priorities are and how this may be relating to social economy and also the discussion that we will be having later on. Looking at Europe today, pre-COVID and post-COVID, there is one clear ambition to state and to share. It's the EU's ambition to become the first climate neutral continent by 2050. And this is at the heart of the European Green Deal that the European Commission has presented in December 2019. And it is basically our growth strategy for the next decades. This comes, of course, with opportunities for businesses and for citizens, but also with challenges. Now, in this broader context, the EU industrial policy seeks to accompany businesses and entrepreneurs, first of all, out of the current crisis linked with COVID, but also help them to become more resilient to future shocks and future crises, and more importantly, to transition towards a greener and more digital and innovative path. So for that purpose, we presented last May a first analysis of the situation post-COVID, a first analysis of the multiple challenges 14 industrial ecosystems in the European economy are facing. And we highlighted some of the transformative initiatives to achieve the twin green and digital transition in each of those ecosystems. And it's interesting for us discussing social economy to know that social economy finds its place in this approach and within the industrial landscape, within the ecosystem, proximity, social economy, and civil security. Now, the next step of this exercise is to present scenarios for what we call the transition pathways for each ecosystem, including the ecosystem on social economy. And the intention is to co-create these transition pathways with stakeholders together in order to identify priority areas for the green and digital transition and resilience, but also identify joint commitments for action in order to reach this transformation that we would like to see by 2030 and by 2050. We have started with ecosystems such as tourism, for instance, energy, mobility, and construction, all very relevant to the topics that we will be discussing later today. And we will be presenting the transition pathway for the social economy as a complement to the action plan on social economy that the European Commission has announced by the end of 2020, by the end of this year, and which will set out the broader framework for social economy for the next decade. Now, coming back to the topic we have today at hand and the topic of the forum, green and inclusive economy, and what social economy actors can do for that, how they can contribute. I think it's a truism on my part to say that looking at social economy business models, we see indeed drivers for industrial transformation, especially when it comes to the green transition. And we will see, we will discuss today concrete examples about how this can work. At the same time, we also see that social economy business models are often ill-equipped in a fast changing and growing green and circular market. They face challenges linked with operational and financial capacity, lack of innovation uptake, lack of adapted support and incentives. And this is what we will be discussing today. we will discuss about how to overcome these challenges and how actually we can turn them into opportunities. So I'm therefore happy to welcome our panelists today. They will share with us their experience of working with social economy actors and social economy business models and organizational models to deliver on the green transition. We have lined up 5 presentations, followed by questions for each panelist. And we will have, hopefully, the time to bring everybody on board around one question. So without further ado, I will turn to the first speaker today to introduce her and also shortly give her the floor. So it is Valeria Duflo. She's the co-founder of Overtourism Solution. Valeria is a social innovator working to transform tourism, both at community level. For instance, she does a lot of work in Venice, but also more globally, I would say, beyond the local level. So Valeria, you have a few minutes to present us your work and what you do with Overtourism Solution. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Anna. I'd like to briefly thank you and your colleagues at the Commission for inviting me to participate in this important conversation. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to be here. As Anna just said, my name is Valeria, and I'm working to transform tourism at the community level and globally at scale. You might wonder why tourism is relevant to the social economy and to the green and inclusive transition. And my answer is that, well, tourism is one of the biggest sectors in the world, growing faster than the global GDP in 2019. It is intrinsically linked to our communities, and it impacts all of the aspects of the places where we live and we travel. However, although tourism has that gigantic footprint, it does not account for its impact, but only for its growth. Unsurprisingly, after decades of chasing growth, today tourism is unsustainable and creates more harm than good. In fact, we often believe that when tourism comes to a destination, it creates distributed benefits, but that couldn't be further from the truth. In leading to a destination, the burden of tourism, its negative impact can't be denied. To give you just an example, in Venice, which is the global poster child of the negative impact of tourism and where I am calling from today, in the past 70 years, 70% of the local population has been displaced by mass tourism and its consequences. So when we look at the hidden impact of tourism, we can see that it impoverishes and displaces people. It damages economies, cultures, environment, the biodiversity. It also worsens the impact of climate change, as tourism is responsible for 8% of global greenhouse gas emissions. So the adverse impact of tourism is tangible, and where it's not yet, it's bound to become visible if we go back to business as usual and do not change the way tourism happens today. However, as recognized by the UN and its member states, tourism has the potential to support directly or indirectly all the Sustainable Development Goals, and therefore the targets of the European Green Deal. Today, already it provides jobs to the most vulnerable. It helps fund conservation and heritage preservation, for example. As you know, the health crisis has put tourism to a halt. Globally, over 100 million jobs are at stake, threatening the safety and future of women, youth, and unskilled labor. Funds for cultural and natural heritage conservation have been cut too, which has increased poaching and the biodiversity crisis. So there is no doubt that tourism must restart, and they cannot go back to how it was. However, despite the fact that it represented 10% of the global and European GDP in 2019, tourism has been historically overlooked. It's been ranked low on the to-do list of our leaders. And if there is one silver lining of this terrible and unexpected shock, is that now we have a global consensus and European consensus around the importance of tourism, the fact that we must transform the sector, and that it will take collaboration to get there. In Europe, the sector represents 12.3 million jobs. It's shouldered by 98% of SME. It is recognized to be, quote unquote, responsible for many social, eco, cultural, and environmental issues. So the good news is that, like Anna was mentioning it, since last summer, the transformation and the recovery of the tourism ecosystem has been officially identified as key to achieving the 2030 and 2050 objective in the bloc, something that was needed and for which I'd like to congratulate the Commission. Aiming to foster a dynamic of transformation in tourism is essential. I said it earlier, I'll say it again, we can't go back to the way things were. My belief in the one of the organization I represent is that to realize its potential, tourism will adopt new impact-focused KPIs, models and practices, mindsets and norms. And to me, this is why social economy actors are essential to this transformation, because after all, impact-focused metrics, practices, mindsets, they are the core business of the stakeholders of the social economy. The truth is that today there are already new models of tourism that are making the sector a force for good at the community level. Like Anna mentioned it, for example, in Venice, we have created a social enterprise that creates a positive impact at the local level by empowering, inspiring people to benefit the community, the culture, and the environment. And we are not the only ones who are creating new models in tourism. There are other innovators, other community leaders that are doing the same thing in their own context and communities around Europe and around the world. That's not all. Thanks to our work in Venice and the impact that we've been created, we also have had the chance to interact with global leaders, European leaders, both in the industry and in public institutions. And that has allowed us to notice something. There are, contrary to what certain public opinion might think, there are people in those sectors that are passionate, motivated, and working tirelessly to enact change. But they are facing challenges. This led us to a realization. Solution and change agents already exist. What is most needed now is to bridge the gap between the sectors and the geographies and empower agents of change across the entire ecosystem. Indeed, we innovators at the community level, we are typically small, with limited resources and connection, like Anna was mentioning. We typically reach a glass ceiling and can't deepen or broaden our impact without help. On their hands, change agents in government, in industry, are actively looking to transform tourism or advance SDG, but they can't do so alone. They are limited in the ability to change things as they lack access to the stories, data, innovation from the ground. This is why our recommendations for the transformation of the tourism ecosystem are the following. First, we must ensure the inclusion of all the relevant voices at the table to ensure that business, policy, and social innovation are informed by the reality of the ground. We must empower successful focused enterprise, impact-focused enterprise and organization with the resources, network, and support they need to grow their impact. We must break silos between the relevant stakeholders and create the enabling environment for them to work collectively, cross-pollinize each other, and therefore enable that dynamic of transformation. We must foster co-creation and collaboration to support innovation, whether in policy or in business. And we must facilitate the collection and usage of data from all stakeholders, ensuring in particular to collect data from the community level and ensuring that these data are open and equitably distributed among everyone in the ecosystem so that we can monitor impact and empower innovators wherever they are. Also, to make new practice the norm, and as 90% of tourism is shouldered by SMEs, and that those often lack the capacity to innovate, the motivation and skills to become sustainable, we must work to empower them in their transition by providing a platform and network for them to connect and collaborate and support each other, access practitioner generating knowledge and sharing very tangible case study that they can learn from and bring back to the organization, and unlock resources, whether it's funds, access to green suppliers. This should all be accompanied by clear incentives to move towards a demonstrated triple bottom line approach. We will also recommend to create the link between different ecosystems to facilitate the transformation of supply chains. Because again, the social economy is very relevant because we have many innovation in house building, in transportation and so forth. And we would also recommend to support the creation and facilitation of a responsive and representative community of practice focused on developing sustainability schemes. A lot of what I just described is what we are seeking to do with our new initiative, Tourism Alive, which is a global initiative aiming at catalyzing change at a speed never seen before by enabling collective action. And this is our commitments, because we believe that to reach the target, the 2013-2050 targets, we must move as fast as possible, as it's a historic opportunity that we're not going to get twice, to build a tourism that is a driver of sustainable, inclusive, and equitable development. As Europe is the global leader in tourism, we are counting on the engagement of both European stakeholders, all European stakeholders, and on the Commission's efforts to create the enabling environment that will allow us all to collaborate together and lead the way as we work towards building a greener world where no one is left behind. Thank you.
Many thanks, Valeria. Very clear, your message very clear and loud, and actually regarding a sector very visible in terms of generating jobs and growth, but also a sector that touches, I would say, each of us as individuals, because we're all of us, one way or another, travelers and tourists. You talked a lot about action. You talked a lot about cooperation. You talked a lot about bringing the different ecosystems together, supply chains, etc. Why do you believe that collective action, whether it's at different levels, whether it's across different sectors, is key to make tourism more resilient and beneficial, not only for the economy, but also for the planet and for the people?
Thank you, Anna. Well, tourism is a multidisciplinary ecosystem. It involves competencies at the local, regional, at the national level, and European level also. It involves multiple core sectors, complex supply chains, and relying on complex functional services. At the same time, tourism is highly linked to the very context and the unicity of each and every destination and community. So that level of complexity means that there is no one solution that fits all, and that no one stakeholder alone can transform tourism. All of this are arguments for a multi-sectoral and multi-level approach. Such an ecosystem can really be transformed and made green and resilient only if it's both inclusive and responsive, though. And to do so, we must correct the fact that community leaders and change practitioners are too often absent from the decision-making table and major convenings. Therefore, the voices of the people most impacted by the state of tourism is not sufficiently represented, which is an obstacle to building a sector that really benefits people, places, and the planet. So we must bring them into this multi-stakeholder collaboration. Also, currently, stakeholders are working in silos. So this is completely preventing collaboration, co-creation, and the exchange of information and data, which are key to enabling the transformation that we need today, and therefore decreases the capacity of the sector to be innovative, responsive, and therefore able to adapt to the new challenges and contexts that are the very definition of building resiliency.
Thank you for that. You mentioned quite a lot in your presentation and also again in your reply, data. And I think looking at tourism, it's true that the online business models have actually developed exponentially, I would say, in the last years. And this is a trend that will be even accelerated by the experience of COVID and this pandemic. In your view, what is the role of digital technologies in transforming tourism for the future?
Thank you. So like you just said, like digital technology with their reach, their ubiquities, and the power that they give us, they have been key and they will be key to transform tourism because they allow us to empower travelers and all the stakeholders that are involved in the travel industry and destination management. But in the context of this conversation, I'd like to focus more on a couple of issues that, when addressed, will enable us to make tourism greener and more beneficial, and where digital technologies are key. Today, for example, there is no feedback loop. There is no centralized data hub place where we can learn from the impact that tourism activities is having at the destination level. We don't know, it doesn't exist. And similarly, there is no go-to resources for business, destination, anyone in the ecosystem to learn from what works, to develop new skills, new mindsets, and access tools and resources to help adopt new practices, support this uptake of impactful, sustainable practices. And digital technology could help with all of this. They could make it easier to collect and aggregate data from the community, from destination, from SMEs, and convert this information in actionable content accessible to all on a digital platform, for example. And they also be key to providing an open source content and central hub for destination SMEs and to develop new skills and mindsets by learning from new practices. Finally, the digital technology will be a key to providing this essential infrastructure, this essential space that is needed for us to come together and create a natural collective so that we can easily come together and exchange ideas and experiences across sector and geographies in a timely manner that is able to foster a capacity to adapt to new contexts, shocks, but also innovate at a pace never seen before.
Thank you very much. So if I had to summarize in 2 words or in a few words what you told us in the last few minutes, I would say that it's a rather positive message in a very complex situation or a very complex ecosystem such as tourism, meaning that social economy actors and social economy business models can be part of the solution, should be part of the collective action, and can very well also play a role in digital technologies and in this digital transformation of tourism, which would be key for its survival and also for the transformation of certain destinations. I hope it's a fair way to summarize your messages, Valeria.
It is. Thank you very much, Anna.
Thank you for the experience you shared with us and the very interesting points you made. Turning to the next speaker, we will not go very far in terms of ecosystems because we will be looking at mobility, also key for tourism. Let me introduce, without further ado, Alexandra de Bézieux. She's the Deputy Managing Director of Real Coop. Real Coop is actually a cooperative that will be running its trains as of this year, and with the objective of offering a different perspective on train mobility and contributing to new business models and new technological solutions. Actually, for Europe, this is timely in a way because this year, 2021, is the European Year of Rail. It's a symbolic way to show that we need more diversity perhaps in mobility, whether it's a mobility of people or mobility of goods, because if the objective is climate neutrality by 2050, we need to be creative and innovative. So Alexandra, over to you, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Anna, and thank you for inviting me. Yes, I will present you Rail Coop, so this initiative that we created at the end of 2019 in France, starting from an idea. Actually, we think that the train transportation is a key issue for ecological transition. And we thought as a citizen that it would be important to reinforce actually the train transportation in France. So completing what the SNCF in France can do and other train operators. And as citizens, we thought we could create a new train company, and it's what we are working on right now, and I will present you that. If you can just go at the start of the presentation, please. Yeah, at the beginning, because this is the last slide. Yeah, at the very beginning. Oops. So again at the, yeah. I will present you where we stand now. Yeah, the second, yeah, go ahead. No, this is, okay, yeah. So we created Rail Coop as a cooperative, as you said, a specific type of cooperative that is in France that can gather together the employees, so the people working on the cooperative, but also local authorities, companies, association, and all kind, and citizen, of course, all kind of stakeholders that wants to redevelop the train in the territories. our goal is really to make rail transport more sustainable. It is already, but also socially inclusive and interconnected with other operator of trains, because really our issue is to increase the train transportation in France, as I said. We were created in November 2019. At the beginning, when we created this cooperative, we were 32 people. And now we are almost 10,000 people, actually. Every day we have new members in our cooperative from France, but from all over the world. So it's very interesting, because also there are people supporting the project coming from all over Europe, of course, but also Japan, South America. We have people from everywhere, because we are also, I think this project is quite innovative, actually. As far as we know, there is no other cooperative that was created so far, at least in Europe, for train transportation. Most of the train operators are made by the states, were made by the states, or by fully private stakeholders. Here we are empowering the possibility for the people, for the citizen, we are giving the possibility to the citizen to think on the train transportation for their territories, and to reappropriate themselves, I would say, these issues, and that give there is quite an enthusiasm about that. We feel that. So really, it's, as it is written here, it's really to reshape rail services to meet people need and territories needs. So that's why as well we have local authorities in our cooperative. And what is important is, as a cooperative, we are virtually non-for-profit. So I mean that all the profits and that's the key issue where we are discussing here, because social economy is, I think, is together based on empowerment, but also on limited lucrativity and I mean, the money that is generated for the public good, I would say, in a way, for the general interest, and not only to give more money to some shareholders. And I think it's a key. It's at the heart of the project. So really, RICOP is made like this, with a non-for-profit, I would say, model, and also with the possibility for all the people, organization, local authorities to think together and to design the train services that they want for their territory. If you can go on, please. Yeah, so what I said already, you can contribute, but of course, train is a key for the ecological transition. So as I said, we have more than 8,000 members, almost 10,000 right now, everywhere in Europe, in the world, but mostly in France, of course. And as you can see, we have people from different regions. What is interesting, why we put this map here, is that there is this community on different regions that are very active on specific topics as well, gathering and enriching the project of the cooperative. I mean, for instance, we have already in the cooperative more than we have in total, yes, 18 groups of, we call that members, that are working on issues for us at the operational teams to develop, for instance, issues on how to, what kind of services we can put in our trains, what kind of services we can put on the train station, what kind of, how we deal with people with disability, what can we do on some specific territories. So, you know, there is really this dynamic, I would say, on thinking together on how we can conceive rail transportation. And if you can go, if you can continue, please. Yeah, so if we say the first line that we will start will be the first freight transport line that will be launched next month in the southwest of France, because we think that, as I said, rail transportation is a key issue for ecological transition, not only to transport passengers, but also, of course, to transport freights and goods. And that's why we will launch our first services in November on freight transportation. Next year, we will launch, and if you can go further. Next year, we will launch our first line in red here, which is the line between Bordeaux and Lyon, crossing France, because now in France, it's not possible for those who know that, going, for instance, from Limoges to Lyon on direct, it's not possible anymore. So we really want to recreate this transversal line, and it will be created next year. And also we will develop some other lines, and you can see that on the maps. Other lines than this one has been also declared at the national authorities. Other lines that was really developed and thought together with our members, and that's very important. It's this company is a company, as I said, and I insist a bit on that, but it's really our members that built the strategy on what kind of lines we can develop tomorrow. So yeah, here it is, and I think we are at the end of my presentation. I didn't check the time. I hope I sticked on the time that that was given to me, and but I'm happy to answer your question.
Many thanks, Alexandra. Yes, it was clear, and we are for the moment good on time. Alexandra, you are trying to develop something, let's say a new business model around based on the train. And I wanted to ask you perhaps the obvious to you, but it's good to share your understanding with everybody. Why do you consider that the train is part of the solution, and it's actually perhaps a good part of the solution towards this ecological and green transition which is underway?
Well, train is 12 times less polluting, emitting green gas emissions than other means of transportation. And on the same, if you take the same weights to transport, so at the same mass egal, I would say at the same, for the same level of goods or people transported, I would say it's 12 times less polluting. So even if now, and there is a means of progression, even if, for instance, on the Bordeaux-Lyon line that we will develop, the line is not really is not completely electrified, so we still need to use fuel and to drive our trains. But still, even if this motorization, it's still less polluting than car, trains, planes, of course, and coaches and buses. So I think it's a key thing. And also, what I would say is that train is a solution of mobility, but is also a solution for non-mobility, because train is a way of transporting in some territories some goods and services. We have, for instance, right now an experimentation in a territory in Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes, so close to, let's say, Clermont-Ferrand, in the Massif Central in France. And it's a very rural territory where people actually have to have a car to go to the city or everywhere, to go to work and to go to the doctor. And what we are thinking right now, we are developing a study together with the ADEME in France, which is the National Agency for Transition, I would say, Maîtrise de l'énergie. We are developing a solution on how the train can bring some services in the territories to avoid people taking their car and going to in a place or another. So it's also, I think the train is less polluting than any other means of transportation, and also talking about thinking on territorial development, at least in France, as France is organized, it could be a good means also to let people stay, I would say, in some rural areas without using their individual cars to go and to buy a piece of bread in the other city at 10 kilometers away, or this kind of thing, you know. So I think really a train is a solution for is a solution in parts of transition of ecological transition for this reason as well. I don't know if I'm clear, but yeah, that's.
Thank you very much. Of course, you're not only trying to develop a business model around based on mobility, rail mobility. You also chose a cooperative form of business. And that's what we want to hear from you. Is this an asset or is it a barrier? Or, I mean, for the success of your project? And if you can summarize that in 1 minute, I would be grateful. So the cooperative form, something that we should be exploring more perhaps for mobility. How does it work for you? Is it an asset for the success of your project or not?
I mean, it's at the heart of the project. So to be clear, I mean, there are several keys that I can emphasize on this to answer your question, Anna. The thing is, first, it was a mean together gathering our first maybe our financial means, because when we started these operators, the few people who started these operators, we are not millionaires, we don't have a lot of money, and as you can imagine, train transportation is quite a capitalistic company business. We need a lot of money to run trains. Of course, the 12-15 people that we were at the beginning, we didn't have personally a lot of money. So the issue of gathering our means together as citizens, as local authorities, gathering the means to be able to run a business with a high level of capital is first a thing. I mean, together we are gathering our means. The cooperative is also a way of developing a strong collective intelligence, cleverness on the approach. As I said, now our members are thinking on the design of our trains, the kind of services we can put on board, the kind of services we can put on the station, this kind of thing. And there is a creativity, an innovation incredible. So in fact, the cooperative is also a way, especially when you leave the people also, not only because there are some cooperative where you only, I would say, and it's already good, but gathering the means, the financial means, as I said, but you can go, of course, further. And on top of that, gathering all this cleverness and develop really some innovative solution. So it's how now we are working together on the cooperative, and also the cooperative is an asset because it's a political power, I would say. Right now we are 10,000 members. Let's say 10,000. It's a lot and not a lot in a way, but still it starts being significant. Yes, and if we have, for instance, as entrepreneur, if we face some difficulties, because of course, in such a business, we are facing difficulties, as any business, you are facing difficulties. The community is also a powerful groups of a political group, I would say, that could also put pressure on various stakeholders to leverage some barriers. So it's a great asset, I would say, to work like this on a cooperative with this potential of people and local authorities working together. I can give you some concrete example if you want, but for instance, to deblock some kind of funding, for instance, for some key issues, the local authorities that are members of RICOP participated in a meeting to put pressure on public funders to help RICOP operating some of getting access to the train, for instance. And this is a powerful lobbying groups, I would say, to go quicker on the development of our services. Yeah.
Thank you, Alexandra. Indeed, as you said, the cooperative form brings not only collective intelligence, it also acts as sort of I would say social barometer, and brings ultimately not only this human-centric, but ultimately the user-centric approach to developing business, which I think is essential. And it's actually the added value of doing business the social economy way, isn't it? So thank you for sharing this experience with us, very useful, and I hope it can inspire other examples in other parts of the world. With that, again, you talked, Alexandra, about, you alluded to the use of renewable energy forms and how this is important also evolve the rail mobility. Now we're not going super far because we will be looking at the energy sector together with the next speaker we have, and I'm happy to welcome Albert Calmes from Luxembourg. He will be presenting us, he's the president of TM Ener Cooperative, Coop. It is an energy cooperative in the southern part of Luxembourg. And it was a cooperative with some history, founded in 2013. But now already you count 200 citizens as part of the enterprise. So Albert, we will be very interested to hear how you do it in the energy sector in Luxembourg and how this experience is working for you. So over to you. You are muted. Maybe you would like to unmute your microphone. It's at the bottom left of your screen.
Yes, thank you, Anna. Sorry. First of all, my English is not very perfect, but I will try to bring it on the best way. Yeah, you can go to the next slide. Anna still said that we were founded in 2013. TM means transition minute, and minute, what is minute? Minute means iron ore, and transition is because we emerged from the local transition town movement. Okay, so what are the goals, the aims of our cooperative? Well, first, of course, it's to produce local and green energy to fight against the climate change. And we also want to generate profits for environment, social profits, and also financial profits. So we think that it's important that shareholders also can profit on a financial way. And another aim is that we want to contribute to the energy independence, not only in front of the international big groups, Saudi Arabia, Asia, and on the other, but especially we want to ensure the production of energy, of the consumed energy of our members. So we want to become resilient on energy production of our members. And then why we created a cooperative? Yes, we wanted to create an establishment that is based on a democratic, on a democratic way. So normally, you know that in a cooperative, every member have the same rights, no matter the number of parts he shared in the business. If you have one part or if you have 100 parts, there's no difference. Okay, you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, what kind of members do we have, and how can you become member? We are open to everybody who accept our principles, and our shareholders are citizens. We are a citizen movement. Where to get in, you have to buy just one part, and the price of a part is €100. I think it's available for, I would say, in Luxembourg to the most of people. So everybody can contribute and can become a member in our cooperative. With money, we collect by this. We're going to finance our projects. How does the cooperative works and how does it functions? We are maybe one more word to our members. We are a solidarity based community. Every member contributes with his own financial resources and contributes with the time he can engage himself, and also the ideas he has. So we are in this way also by taking decisions. We are open. We have our reunions. It's open. Everybody can come there and contribute with ideas and whatever. The decision making body is a general assembly. Every member has one vote, no matter the number of parts she owns. I said it before, and of course we need an administrative council. The council manage the daily business. The council is working involuntarily, so we are not paid. So how do we develop since 2013? Where we were starting with the first small PV installation, and with 12 founding members. Now we have 9 PV installation on multiple roofs in the different cities here in the south of Luxembourg. Our production in 2020 was 357,000 kilowatt hours. This means nearly 1,700 kilowatt hour per member, and this means also that we nearly nearly corresponds to the annual consumption of each member. So I think that we are on a good way, and that our members maybe nearly produce consumption themselves. And of course, today we have more than 200 members. What do we do else? We are not only developing PV projects, but we also support others if they want to create a similar project. When we started, nobody of us, of the founding member, was an expert in corporate managing, was an expert in energy. But our principle was learning by doing. So we started with the first small installation. We made a lot of experience, and now we give this experience to others if they want to create also an energy cooperative or other cooperatives. Of course, we participate on conferences, workshops like this, in the context of climate change, energy transition, and also what we think is important, governance of citizen movements. It's also very important to be engaged in lobbying, to be well connected with other actors in our interests, and we make lobbying for a better legal framework, especially for citizen energy prosumers. What are our next steps? Of course, we still want to develop new PV projects, and with the project we have in the pipeline, I think that in the next 3-4 years we can double our production. And we also want to get, we are open to acquiring new members, because we need, at this case, the members for the financing of the projects, and also to create a more important movement, and to have by this also more power in front of the public authorities. One of our little bit another project for the future, for the next 2-3 years, is to realize a citizen energy community. There is a European directive 2019-944 about the electrical market, and therein, and also the renewable energies, and therein it's there becomes the possibility to create energy communities to share directly the energy production that we produce now. At this moment, all the production, all the electricity that we are producing is fit in the public grid, and in the next time we want to share our production, our energy directly with our members. For us, it's very important. Also, a project for future, but for the moment I think we are a little bit too small. We want to shift from a volunteer-based movement to become a professional movement, along with and also with the creation of sustainable job. The S is it's an intention, but we are not still there. But it's also one of our goals to become more professional, and and so okay. I thank you for your interest, for listening. Okay, I think time was correct. Yeah.
Thank you, Albert. Thank you for sharing your experience from Luxembourg. You mentioned about the regulatory framework. Indeed, in Europe, since 2019, there is this possibility to have this energy communities, and we hope that more initiatives like yours will spring in different parts of the EU. At the same time, coming back to your experience in Luxembourg, we would like to hear a little bit more about from you about the role of public authorities in Luxembourg. Have they helped your project, and is the dimension of citizens and what you're trying to do part of the energy transition that the public policymakers in Luxembourg are trying to put in place? So how then the public authorities or the public sector are helping your project? That's my first question.
First, when we started in 2013, we were really blocked, that because we only were allowed to install small installations. So by lobbying, we writing letters, and also connected with other environment movements. We reached that to have some to meet ministry and administration, and we explained what is our goal and what are our intentions for the future. And I think that they understand that that citizens can contribute a lot of also in the energy transition. And since then we get support. They opened the installation, and now we can realize project to 500 kilowatt. And for this installation, we also have an fit-in tariff for 15 years. So we are sure that that there is also a return of investment, and that our business plan is correct, and really. For the moment, there is also transposition of some European directives, and we contribute. So today we have the door are a little bit more open to all these administrative and these public suppliers. So we can contribute that it works in a good direction. Of course, there are always administrative problems, and there are also other interests, the grid holder, and also the local electrical society where they are not so interested. There are now a lot of actors, and maybe they have problem to control them, and and a part of the electrical market is no more in one hand, but now it will be in the future in a lot of hands, and I think this make me a little bit brave, and yeah. But I think that we are on the right way, and also that the public deciders now know that we exist and that we contribute to something good.
So yes, and indeed. So if I had again to extract something from the key message of what you are saying is that yes, citizen initiative, grassroots level is very important, but without lobbying, without communication and outreach, perhaps it's difficult to establish yourself and difficult to scale up. So your experience shows that you can do it. And we hope to see projects like yours duplicating it in other countries, certainly in the EU, in the single market, and in the energy market in the EU, but also beyond. Thank you, Albert, for your for sharing this with us. We still have 2 more speakers ahead of us. So I will turn without further ado to the 4th speaker who kindly accepted to be with us today. It's Agnes Schönfelder from the city of Mannheim. She's a climate policy advisor there, and she's also the spokesperson for the local Green Deal. Very intriguing, Agnes. Would you like to let us know more about what the local Green Deal is in Mannheim and how the city is putting it together? Over to you.
Yes, of course, Anna. Thank you very much for the invitation. Yes, the local Green Deal is a really big deal for the city of Mannheim. We have 320,000 inhabitants from 170 nations in the city, and we are an industrial legacy city in a big transformation process. So Mannheim is a city where the term local Green Deal was born with the Mannheim message at the 9th European Conference of Sustainable Cities and Towns, together with ECLAY, the Sustainability Network, and the EU Commission. And so we spread the message into the world and wanted to be the first with a pilot of a local Green Deal. So 1 year after the Mannheim message, it's really clear that there are not 2 crises side by side, one of the environment and one of the society, but a single and a complex socio-ecological crisis. So green transition and green recovery have arrived at the center of the political debate now. And the COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent economic crisis makes the situation even more difficult now. But it also offers an opportunity to accelerate the change. And the pandemic has clearly triggered a rethinking of the way we live and to do business, also social business. The good news is in the city, both the concrete local problem situations and the local competence in finding solutions come together. And we as cities have the power to unlock the potential for ambitious local climate action for a carbon neutral and inclusive future. Because cities recognize the global challenges of climate change and are committed to meeting the local challenges of climate neutrality. So for this, we need more ambitious climate targets for 2030 and 2050, as the European Green Deal and the local Green Deal aims to achieve. So we as cities and as a civil society all know that real local action comes from the bottom up. But it needs from the top down a transparent policy and an enabling administration and a positive, inspiring environment. And that is what a local Green Deal is doing and what Mannheim is aiming with a pilot. So local integrated action with local stakeholders for a green transition towards a sustainable climate neutral city. Next slide, please. So Mannheim has positioned itself as a pilot city for a local Green Deal that unites and concretizes sustainability and climate goals, and focuses on socially just transformation at the industrial location. uses funding and financing opportunities in a targeted manner, and integrates international commitments and networks. And with its local Green Deal, Mannheim is aiming for climate neutrality significantly earlier than 2050 towards 2030. This is our first major target deal, which we recently agreed with the City Council with one voice. The City of Mannheim's newly established local Green Deal office, where I am the spokesperson of, has been investigating the potential for deals in all urban projects over the last few weeks. In all 8 thematic fields you see in the red cycles in the picture of action, it's climate, it's zero pollution, circular economy, biodiversity, mobility, food, clean energy, buildings. Initial deals have been concluded together with citizens, politics, administration, companies, research, and civil society. Whether as targets set by the city, or as voluntary commitments by the business community, or as agreements with initiatives, or as citizens' own contribution. This is how the course is set for a green, clean, and healthy city. This is a local Green Deal. And so many solutions outlined in the Green Deal can only be successful if they are socially just and fair. That is really clear. And then we come to the right side of the picture, the blue circles. So there are good reasons in supporting environment for local Green Deals with the social economy stakeholders, because environmental challenges increase the sensitivity to social inequalities. And the common good is gaining more in importance. So green transition can only work as a social ecological one. That is why the 8 thematic fields of the local Green Deal on the left side have to be combined with the 3 comprehensive action fields on the right side: just transition, knowledge and innovation, and the mobilization of the urban society. Next slide. So we are asking, what is your deal? In the local Green Deal Mannheim, we are looking for concrete contribution, deals in form of actions, measures, and target commitments in the 8 action fields. But which big deals does the city enter into? And which deals come from the society and the social economy? So Mannheim is a citizen participation city, and every city project is accompanied by a co-creation process, so the local Green Deal as well. And also our Climate Action Plan 2030. In our campaign, you see on the left side, for the Climate Action Plan 2030, we ask under the slogan, "With your vision, we move mountains. What is your Green Deal?" To reach climate neutrality by 2030, as I mentioned, is like moving mountains to Mannheim, which originally has, of course, no high mountains as visualized in the picture. So that is a campaign. And you will be curious about the mountain moving ideas or deals in Mannheim, I think. So I tell you some of them with a special focus on social aspects. So ambitious climate targets. I said our goal is climate neutrality by 2030, committed by the City Council. That means we have to switch off our coal-fired power plant. And that means we have to start an employment initiative for the workers who are working there. That is a deal. And a big deal is also to supply all city-owned buildings, including schools, with 100% solar energy. The deal is to reach that goal by 2027. That means 40 megawatt peak solar energy to install. For the circular economy, in the last months, the city decided to expand its bio-waste collection. And so the bio bin for the private household recently become free of charge for all citizens. It's a deal. And for mobility, the deal is we are now working on a master plan for sustainable low emission mobility. That's a good start for a local Green Deal, but not a deal. So the deal will be that the price of the inner city ticket will be reduced for the public transport from €2.70 to €1.80 next year. And a cargo bike initiative has started and is supported by the city with a promotional program. For the housing, the city decided that 30% of new buildings will be for housing, for social housing for low-income families. And the Climate Action Agency, where I am the CEO, it's my third job, has started a social bonus for refurbishment to support low-income families by refurbishing their houses. For food, we have a deal, a lot of deals. We support the solidarity farming and urban gardening initiatives and give them land from the city. And the evangelic churches' kindergardens only cook vegetarian for the children. And for biodiversity, we are working on a biodiversity strategy at the moment. And the first deal is 2023 trees will be planted by the National Garden Company Buga 2023. That's why 2023 trees will be planted in the city. And so some from the social economy initiatives part, so our working therapy institution has unsealed a part of their land, and they used it for an educational project on environment with the handicapped people. The City Honey initiative is cooperation between the Senior Citizen Office of the City of Mannheim and the Student Association, and they train senior citizens in beekeeping. So there are a lot of other examples. Also, the Micro Agriculture Initiative promotes farmers with community vegetable gardening, and they are committed to protecting biodiversity in agriculture. And we have a children's department store with our church initiative, Diakonisches Werk, and this supports children from low-income families, and they give social interaction there, and so on. And we have also electricity saving checks with the Caritas Church Association for low-income households. Some examples. So I would conclude with the idea I had about local green deals. So in Germany, we say the way is a goal, but I think the way is not the goal, but the goal determines the way. And local green deals help to think in terms of action, of actors, rather than strategies right from the beginning. And that is a great chance for accelerating the way to be faster for a green transition. And local green deals can not really move mountains, but they can move people. So let's deal together. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for the powerful message, actually, and the very interesting visual that you brought with that. You already in the presentation, Agnes, you have shown how the priorities under different policy areas, whether it's education, agriculture, or social policies, are actually aligned or brought together under the local Green Deal. So I would like then to focus rather on another question to you, to ask you this. I mean, setting out a local Green Deal, mobilizing the people, as you said, comes with political risks. It brings opportunities, but it also brings challenges. So what are the lessons learned for you and for the city of Mannheim from this pilot phase on the local Green Deal that you're putting in place?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, there is a political risk because there are a lot of thematic fields I have shown, and the comprehensive deal is just transition and to leave no one behind. And so increasing prices for food, mobility, or housing, and so on, it is connected with climate neutrality. So we have to disconnect it and to enable the transition, but to let no one behind this process. So that is a really, really big deal for us. So, and that is a political risk. Another risk is the financing of the deals. So that costs a lot of money, and we need the support not only from the local level. The cities cannot do it alone. So we need the national level, and we need the international or European level. That's why the city of Mannheim is applying for the call 100 climate neutral cities by 2030 now. I have it. And so to get a climate city contract and to see how much will it cost to be climate neutral by 2030. And we have a lot of initiatives for promoting programs for refurbishment, energy saving, and so on. So we support all the initiatives to lower the risk. The lessons learned is start from the very first point with all stakeholders, explain what a local Green Deal is, and explain them that it makes the contribution of the stakeholders more visible and more relevant. They are part and they are the owner of a process. So a local Green Deal is the highest participation, what is possible for the stakeholders. And it's a co-creation, and they own the process. And just to explain what a local Green Deal is my recommendation and the lesson learned. Understand how your citizens and the stakeholders are thinking, understand the DNA of your city and how to move forward, that you get a good deal which is accepted by all.
Yeah. Pretty clear. So local Green Deal, it is about just transition. It is about social inclusiveness. It is about investment, but it is about also participation, as I understand, at all levels, from the individual citizen to all business actors and including the social economy actors. Thank you very much. We will be keeping a close eye on how you're doing it in Mannheim, because I think it's an interesting example to follow. Thank you for sharing it with us. Now, with that, I would like to turn to our last speaker. Last but not least, Denis Stockeng. He's the founder of Pour Solidarité, which is an independent European think and do tank, if I can call it like that, committed to promoting solidarity and sustainability in Europe. Denis, you have a long history behind you and many interesting thoughts and ideas to share with us. So over to you. With no further ado, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you to invite me. Thank you to all speakers who did very interesting speeches. What important, I think, is that social economy actors, being primarily oriented toward non-financial goals, either social or environmental, are crucial actors for a just transition. Not any transition, a just transition that leaves no one behind. They are the actors of change for an ecological and social transition. Next slide. Social economy is playing a crucial role in the realization of the 2030 agenda and the SDGs by promoting inclusive and sustainable development through concrete social, institutional, and technological innovations and practices, as previously depicted by the colleagues. Next. How are the SDGs taken into account at the EU level? They are fully integrated into the European action process and most notably in its Green Deal. In its action, the social objectives must be central, complementary and interconnected to the ecological objectives. That is the main issue thinking. Yes? Next, Carol. Social economy actors play a crucial role in the implementation of the SDG through their core value. However, they need to be supported in the implementation of systems that build economic and social resilience. And you spoke during your intervention about the resilience, and it's very important to put forward this idea, this concept of economic and social resilience put forward by social economy. Yes? We can put forward that in their core, social economy actors are rooted in the circular economy. They are also central to ensure an inclusive transition that ensures the retraining of people and to include those who are far from employment. Both aspects. Yes? There are still some yes, this one. Yes. This slide is, I think, the most important that I wanted to put forward. A just transition can only be accomplished by linking up the ecological transition and the social transition. This is where social economy actors play a crucial role, being active on both issues. This link needs to be strengthened to ensure a just transition. And now we can put three best practices. The first one is a cooperative in Romania, Ateliere Fără Frontiere. It's an innovative social enterprise on the circular economy. And they do social inclusion. They are a wise work integration social enterprise, and also in the heart of circular economy by fight against waste. Okay, but also another good practice at national level, the RTS, Réseau des territoires d'économie solidaire, for local collectivities, so as Mannheim, but here in France. And last week we were part of the launching of the Just Transition Alliance, which link a lot of important stakeholders on just transition in Europe. And so to finish the recommendations that I want to underline, it's the mutual contribution between the European plans and strategy aimed at social and ecological transition, and plans aimed at developing the social economy. It was a lack in the Green Deal, may I say. The lack was no word on social economy in the Green Deal. We put forward a policy paper just after the Green Deal launching to stress the necessity to put the social economy policy into the European Green Deal. So we have to link these policies on social economy and on SDG at local level, national level, and European level. How to do that? Through coalitions of actors, so as Just Transition Alliance, through coordination of action, and so as this morning, exchange of good practices. And we also have to put forward the importance of structural funds. We are at the beginning of the budget 2021 and 2027, and in the budget, structural funds have a very important role to support social economy initiatives, but the regions have to use this possibility. And also the social economy actors have to use that. Last thing, we have to considering social economy actors as strategic partners. We heard this morning how they can be very important actors. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Denis, for this overview and for bringing us up to the broader picture of policy making and I would say an enabling framework for social economy actors in this green transition and in the issues that we're discussing today. You had some ideas already presented, but I wanted to come back to that and ask you, in your view, what do social economy stakeholders need in order to increase their involvement in the green transition process? I mean, in terms of access to green markets, in terms of integrating value chains in circular economy or energy sector, mobility or tourism or other ecosystems that we're discussing. What do they need?
Well, it's a very important question. Social economy stakeholders are operators whose primary objective is to have positive social or environmental impact over profit. The social orientation makes them perfect actors to pave the way for a future economy that works for both people and environment. However, it's crucial to support the emergence of systems that link both the social and ecological dimensions. We need systems that have at heart the need to make sense. They can be leaders in the ecological transition and help achieve carbon neutrality. However, to do this, we put forward the following recommendations: mainstream the social economy within local, national, European environmental policies, including the Green Deal. I tell already this lack in the Green Deal, but it's very important, I think. And so the importance to put Green Deal ecological issues in the social economy action plan that will be published in December, I think. And secondly, recognize the real value of social enterprise active in the circular economy and improve the access to funding.
Okay, so the key for social economy actors is, let's say, policy recognition at the European level, but I would also assume at a local and regional level, because this is where the local Green Deals and the transition actually is rooted, also where social economy actors are rooted, as you said, and funding, investment. Yeah, these are the two key pillars. Well, thank you very much for that. That concludes the round of presentations and the questions that we had following your presentations. I would like to turn to all of the speakers with one question, but rather I would say one challenge. We have 5 minutes left. If you look at the local level, and the just green transition, the inclusive green transition, which is basically the leitmotif of this forum. What is the key action at local level that is needed for that? And if you could use one word to describe it. It can be an action, or what is needed at local level for a just green transition, in your view. And if you can summarize it in one word, that would be even more powerful, I would say. So who wants to go first?
I can go. I have.
Yes, Valeria, and then Albert.
Like collaboration.
Mm-hmm. Okay, clear. Albert.
Well connected.
Well connected, yes. In all possible ways, huh? Very good, yeah. Then Denise.
Microphone.
You need to unmute, yes, you're on, yeah.
Co-creation, I think most important.
Yeah, co-creation, very powerful also. And then we have Alexandra and Agnes. Who wants to go first? Who's ready?
I would say engagement.
Okay, engagement. And Agnes?
Transparency and visibility.
Transparency, visibility. Yeah. I think we did rather well, and thank you for that, because with the words that you put at the end, not only it makes my life easier, because I don't have to summarize anything, because it's all there, it's powerful. Collaboration, well-connected, co-creation, engagement, transparency and visibility. It's all a part of the DNA of social economy, if I can say, but it should be also key ingredients for any policies, actions, vision, or anything we need to make the green transition a reality, but also to make it green and just. And there I can only say on behalf of the Commission at the European level that the European Green Deal indeed is the growth strategy for the future, but one of its key pillars and key conditions, it's a just transition. And that was the case since the beginning. And I think our collective challenge, whether we work in tourism, in energy, whether we're part of the social economy world or the mainstream economy world, it is really to see how we can make this just transition a reality. I think this is our shared challenge. But listening to you today, I'm confident that we have the means, we have the way, we have the creativity, and we have the determination. Thank you very much. I hope that the exchange that we had today and the examples that we presented and the thoughts can be inspiring for others. And please do not hesitate to follow up this discussion and continue it any way you can on social media, but also amongst yourselves. I think we need to spread the word. Who said visibility? Visibility is very important as well. Thank you very much, and have a nice day, all of you. Bye-bye.